Watching Sky News, these are our top stories this evening. The German company which manufactured the anti-morning sickness drug thalidomide has apologised, but campaigners for those affected have said it's insulting. Thalidomide victims say it's too little too late after the German company that manufactured the drug apologised for the first time. The drug was prescribed to pregnant women in the 50s to combat morning sickness, but caused babies to be born with birth defects. Stand-up comedian Gary Skinner was one of the thousands affected and joins us now live from Liverpool. Gary, thanks very much indeed for joining us. What do you make of this apology from Grunenthal? So heartfelt and so public, and yet, in a way, many people think pointless, perhaps even insulting.
It's absolutely amazing, Andrew. To say that it adds insult to injury is an understatement, really. It's 50 years on. Every day's been a struggle. Every day of the 52 years, glares, stares, people wondering what's happened to you. It's just incredible. Why have they come out with this now? Why and never backed it up with a firm apology by the way of compensation package too?
I mean, the difficulty with these kind of one-hit legacies that happen, I'm thinking perhaps of Agent Orange in Vietnam, where thousands of Vietnamese people have not been compensated, Union Carbide in India, where the local people there haven't been compensated, and the thalidomide. There's almost as if the people who may or may not be responsible just hold on until it just becomes a very old story.
Well, it's a little bit more sinister, you see. It goes a little bit deeper because the company Grunenthal don't want people to know that they actually, when in the pre-war years, actually that this was manufactured as a drug that was used originally to torture Allied soldiers in the war. And all that hasn't come out yet. Hopefully now that this apology has come along, the apology of sorts, that this will come out exactly where thalidomide started, about the corruption that's gone on for years within the British government, within the companies that have marketed it and used it, and the way the government said it was safe to take. I lost my mum in March this year. She probably cried herself to sleep every night of her life. And nobody ever apologised to that woman. She's left this earth now, and she's never heard this apology. I mean, for what it's worth. I mean, I lay down the gauntlet on your show tonight to Harold Stock. He's the chief executive of Grunenthal, and I say to him, why don't you come to Liverpool, Mr. Stock, and you spend a week with me, spend 7 days in my house, take my wife's place, and you bath me, you toilet me, you do everything that my wife does on an unpaid basis for me, and you see how difficult it is. And thankfully, Andrew, I'm one of the least affected thalidomide victims. Some people have no arms and legs. Let Mr. Stock put his money where his mouth is and come and take me on for a week. I lay down the gauntlet to him tonight live on your show.
Well, that message has been seen by plenty of viewers, so we'll see where that goes, Gary. What do you think should happen now? I mean, in Australia as well, we saw the reaction of a mother there to this apology, and it's the pain of the mothers. It seems to be every bit as important, let's say, as the suffering of the victims who were born to those mothers, and the insult, of course, about how it was allowed to come to pass anyway. What can happen now, 50 years on? Is it a question of money? Is it a question of recognition? The cases have gone further in Britain than they have in Germany, for example.
Well, it's worldwide, Andrew. I mean, I have my own thoughts on this, and I have to be very careful because we're live on television, but I genuinely believe that this was something that was manifested itself in wartime Germany, and for some reason or other, these three inventors, a fellow called Mukhtar, Lenz and Ambrose, it seems to have gone on a three-man campaign to get their own back on what happened in the Second World War. I mean, you know, hopefully now all the conspiracy and the lies will come out now. And now the media are involved the way they have today. I mean, my phone's never stopped, and thankfully Sky News, who are one of the leading news people, have been involved in this now. Your broadcast will be going out live all over Europe. And I say, don't let's let this die off now. Don't let's become tomorrow's chip paper. Let's get this sorted out now and find out exactly where Grunenthal were with this in the war effort, and find out what Grunenthal were all about at the very beginning. It's an absolute disgrace that we've had 52 years of what we've had to put up with. And in particular, the mothers, they were the victims. In fact, they were thalidomide families, not thalidomide victims. Thalidomide families were damaged.
Yes, indeed. Well put. Some of those allegations that you've touched on there, you know, are a matter of record, and there's also mention of the French company Rhone Poulenc as well being involved, perhaps in that in the period of the 40s. In terms of dealing with this now, There are protests planned for November in Germany by thalidomide victims there, because their compensation only runs to something in the region of £10,000 to £11,000 a year. The papers say that in Britain, Department of Health has authorised something like £40,000 a year to thalidomide families. Is that your experience?
No, that's derisory. I mean, people, when thalidomide always mention the figure and they use the word millions. Let's get it right. Distillers, who were the company who bought the patent for this in 1986, merged with Guinness, with Diageo, and that company is now worth £27 billion. £27 billion. The distillers part of that is £19.6 billion. Right, £19.6 billion. That company makes over £4.8 billion profit a year, and we receive from them a miserly £8 million a year into a trust fund that's to fund 471 severely disabled thalidomide victims. It's an absolute disgrace that a company as big as that, who bought the patents, they at least have paid something, but Grunenthal continue to hide worldwide and don't pay any compensation at all. It's an absolute disgrace. And in fact, I call on the British government as well tonight, now this admission of guilt by Grunenthal has come out, for them to apply pressure to the German government to drag these people screaming to the bank to pay compensation worldwide to people who've been irretrievably damaged as we have.
Gary Skyner, a pleasure talking to you. Our condolences about your mother who died last year that you mentioned, and also thanks for talking to us tonight on Sky News.